here. Come back here. Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and dive into this. And again, I want to welcome all of the attendees that are joining us. If this is your first time participating in one of the Blacks in Travel and Tourism webinars, when we welcome you. If you have attended one of our prior webinars, we welcome you back and we want to say thank you for tuning in and for joining us to be part of these conversations where we're bringing diverse faces and voices in the industry to discuss what we feel are some very vital, to have some very vital conversations, for different stakeholders in the industry. So I'm really excited to be able to moderate today's webinar. And before we get into introducing our distinguished entrepreneurs, I'd like to introduce our partners who have been on this journey with Blacks in Travel and Tourism, and that's Gloria and Solomon Herbert with Black Meetings and Black Meetings and Tourism. So I'd like to open it up for you all to welcome our attendees.
So much, Stephanie. I want to first just give you all a big congratulations for taking the time to participate in this important event. In many ways, you represent the backbone of this industry. You and your businesses are unique and you are absolutely essential. Many of us come from ancestors who are no strangers to adversity. So during these times, I just want to remind you of what they taught us and what we can learn from them, that we must find a way or make a way. And I know we can do it. We can do it. Thanks, Stephanie.
I love it.
Thank you. Solomon, would you like to bring remarks?
Actually, she spoke for both of us.
Okay.
He's going to be on another call shortly. So
okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you both for your partnership and your wisdom that you have shared along this journey. And we're looking forward to continuing this journey with you all. So I do understand if you need to leave because I know you have another call. So thank you for taking the time to log in and to be with us today. All right. Continue to be safe. Okay.
Thanks so much, Steph.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yes,
wonderful. Thank you. So it is my, again, my honor, to introduce our phenomenal group of travel entrepreneurs that are representing various segments of travel and tourism. And I'd like to start by introducing a young lady that I've known for a few years now. And, she is definitely one of the top players in the travel industry. She's a leader in the industry. And I just want to say hello, Margie Jordan. And And I'm also going, and then I'm going to come back to you all so you can introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little more about yourselves. We also have Mr. Melvin Hines from Washington, D.C., D.C. Smokehouse Restaurant, and he's going to share more about what he's doing in D.C. in the restaurant space. We have Akila Makano, who is a tour operator out of Atlanta, Georgia. Then we also have Deirdre Mathis, who is a hotelier. She's actually the first African-American woman to open up a hostel in the US, and she's doing some phenomenal things in the hotel space. So happy to have you with us. And then we also have Ms. Suzanne Boyd, and Suzanne is a top event planner and meeting planner. She's with the Party Company. So again, I just want to say thank you all so very much for joining me in this conversation today around pivoting, surviving, thriving to try to sustain business during COVID-19. And I could probably have this conversation by myself as far as what I have had to do to pivot my tour company. But this is not about me. I will chime in, but I do want to open up the floor. And let's start with you, Margie, if you don't mind sharing with the attendees, again, the name of your company, what you do, and I know you do multiple things, but talk a little bit about what you do in the industry, okay, and where you're located.
Sure. So
First and foremost, I have been a travel advisor since 2005. I created an agency called Jordan Executive Travel here in Jacksonville, Florida, and have owned and managed that since 2005. But about 5 years ago, I became vice president of an organization called CCRA, and we have about 3,000 travel agency members. We have a global network of travel agents that are all across the US and internationally. And I oversee the membership side of that organization as well as the education, our accreditation programs. So I spent a lot of time talking to, educating, and just helping travel advisors grow their business.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you. Deirdre Mathis, tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing in Houston.
Yeah, so I'm Deidre Mathis, the owner of Wonder Stay Hotels. Our first location opened summer 2018. It was a hostel. Super excited to be in this hospitality space. We're currently set to open our second location spring 2021. I'm super excited about that. So I have been, like you said, pivoting. My philosophy for these past few months have been pivot or die. And so I can get a little bit into detail about how we've been able to sustain and stay open. But these are trying times, but I absolutely love this industry. And I'm so happy we're having this conversation today. So, we can share our wealth and knowledge with folks listening in.
Thank you. And I'm so happy that you are a part of this conversation.
Thank you.
Akila, tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Atlanta.
Hi, everybody. My name is Akila McConnell. I'm the owner of Unexpected Atlanta Tours and Stories. We actually have 3 divisions. We have Atlanta Food Walks, Atlanta History Tours, and Unexpected Virtual Tours because we're in this pivoting business right now. So I feel extremely honored to be here today because I actually told Stephanie up front when she invited me, I said, I'm happy to talk, but I'm not African American. So am I the right person to be on this call? And she said, yes. And I think the reason why is because for the last 5 years, we've really made it our mission to be an intentionally inclusive travel operator and tour operator. And by that, I mean that we try very hard to amplify stories of Black people, not just in Atlanta, but mostly in Atlanta, as well as Black entrepreneurs. So on our food tour end, we work with about 17 entrepreneurs in the city, and we have a mission to work with at least 50% minority, and usually of that, I would say 40% is Black, in the total, 40% is usually Black of the 17 operators or restaurants we work with. And I really feel very honored. I've spoken at a number of different organizations about how we think intentional inclusivity matters among tour operators, and it's really being ignored. So very honored to be here today talking to you all.
And I am honored to have you a part of this conversation. So thank you for saying yes. And Mr. Melvin Hines, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about what you're doing in DC.
Thank you for having me. I own Southeast Restaurant Group, we're based out of Washington, D.C. We have 3 separate lines currently. D-City Smokehouse, one of the best barbecue restaurants, I would say, on the East Coast.
We're going to all have to check it out, right? When we go to D.C.
Oh, we will.
Also have a neighborhood bar, Wicked Bloom Social Club, located in the Bloomingdale neighborhood. As well as Revive Events and Catering, our full service catering company that handles multiple lines of clients from government down to private events. I just want to say thank you again for letting me be a part of this. I feel like this is the way in which we will be able to pivot by sharing information and getting critical information and sharing it amongst our peers. So thank you for having me today.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. And Ms. Suzanne Boyd, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing.
Hello, everyone. And again, thank you so much, Stephanie, for allowing me to be a part of this panel. I'm so excited because I think that the last few months, we've been kind of on our own or by ourselves. And when you have events like this, you realize you're not alone in what we're all facing. Anyway, I'm the founder and CEO of the Party Company. My company is about 18 years old now. I started the company actually part-time while raising my children, and then it just pivoted into a special event production and meeting planning service. So most of the clients that I work with are, from planning intimate type events to corporate events. I work with a number of nonprofits. And then within the last 2 years, I have been taking the Party Company on the road internationally and have been working all over from the Caribbean islands, Puerto Rico to Europe. So that has the travel aspect of my business kind of grew. I just decided I wanted to expand. I was bored from just doing events in South Florida, and it's amazing what you ask for because it happens. So I'm, very fortunate to have been able to pivot my business internationally. Hope to and will continue to do that. And I'm based in South Florida. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. So we're just going to dive into this first question. Because I know, with the exception of Melvin and Akilah, I'm just getting to know you both, but I did my research. I know prior to COVID-19 coming on the scene, I know the industry was thriving. It was breaking records across the board. Every DMO, every destination was breaking records with tourists, inbound tourists and travelers, and a lot of small travel businesses, including those represented on this call, were also probably breaking records and doing very well. So before we get into where you are today and how you've pivoted your business, I want you all to share, because I'm hoping that for many of the small business owners that may be listening in, that may feeling a little hopeless and struggling, and trying to figure out how do they sustain their business, I think it's important for them to hear from you all. What were you doing prior to COVID? What type of specific strategies were you implementing in your businesses to attract locals and domestic and international visitors? So can you talk a little bit about what were you doing? And you may be doing the same now, but what were you doing when things were going very, very well before COVID came on the scene? Who'd like to take that question?
Sure, I'll start. So I, like I mentioned, I run a hostel. So all of my guests don't live in Houston. They're all travelers, whether domestic or international. And so we were doing what we had consistently been doing, reaching out to future guests via social media, retargeting ads, email lists, and we were doing very well. I tell everyone this story. The first week of March, I had a meeting with my accountant, and she said, wow, what you made in the month of March 2019, like the entire month, you've made in a week and a half in 2020. So we were set to do very well. So we were doing great financially. Our occupancy numbers were increasing. Our reviews, excellent. We're #1 in the city of Houston out of specialty accommodations. We have a 5-star rating on Google. So we've been doing really, really well. And literally 2 weeks after that is when, the mayor announced that they were shutting down the rodeo, which if you've ever heard about the Houston rodeo, it's a big deal. Yes, huge. 2 weeks, brings millions of dollars to the city. And so when he shut that down, I was still quite naive. And I said, well, we'll still be fine. We're still going to maintain, as we were doing. But within a matter of 2 weeks, we lost about 150 reservations from as far as December of this year. So people who had booked, early in the year, this year, last year, they were canceling their bookings all the way up until December. So it hit us hard. And so we had to think very quickly on our feet. How can we pivot quickly? And so if you know anything about hostels, we're all about community and, millennials and fun and togetherness. And so we had to say, okay, now we're in Houston, 4th largest city, one of the largest medical centers in the US. So we're going to start attracting nurses and people who work at hospitals. And we did that right away. And we were fortunate enough to get a handful of nurses and a handful of people who worked at the hospitals that needed long-term accommodations. So although we weren't seeing our typical guests, we were fortunate in that we were able to quickly find a new set of guests that were able to, pay and keep us afloat. And so, having one person stay with us for 2 to 3 months, made up for those guests that we were missing who usually stay 2 to 3 nights. So it kind of broke even for us. And so that's what we did quickly on our toes is we said, okay, we can't have our traditional guests. So what can we do? And I encourage everyone to do that. Think about, don't stay inside of your box and, this is my typical consumer. This is my typical, the typical person who patronizes what I do. You have to think very quickly on your toes. I'm offering this service. Who can use it, period? And then you have to try to reach out to those folks. And that's exactly what we did. So while we're not, while we don't have the occupancy rate that we projected we would, or the financials we projected we would, we've still been earning revenue and we haven't gone in the red. I haven't had to lay off any employees. So by all means, I think we're doing fairly well.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
Melvin, I'm going to throw this question over to you as well. What were you doing before COVID-19 and what are you doing now to pivot your business to continue to attract, whether it's locals or even, domestic or international travelers? You're on mute, Melvin. You have to unmute.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
So to really prepare ourselves, previously, we really relied on social media. Just picking really on a very basic level, just pictures of our food. We show from a D City Smokehouse, we show what the food looks like coming out of the smoker as people are ordering. And there's really a strong following of barbecue, really across this nation, really across internationally as well, because we would get tourists that come and, they would look us up. They would look up the local barbecue places. It becomes a mission to test each one that they come into the city. So it really was encouraging for us to continue to drive that traffic through what we were doing day to day. I would say the same thing applies to the catering business. We make a point of highlighting our events, whether something small all the way up to the large events, because that becomes sort of your calling card. What we've found out, we've been doing the catering really since 2011. D City Smokehouse started in 2013, really at sort of the forefront of using Instagram to really document, day-to-day activities. So we use that to really showcase who we are. And then our customers started, participating and, adding their own pictures, which drives up, the potential audience of what you can see. As far as what we're doing today, we did have to shift. We've actually gone back to more of our carry-out routes. When we initially started with the smokehouse, it was more of a carry-out operation. We've gone back to that now, even in our new location, because we can't have the dine-in seating. Just up until recently, we couldn't have the alcohol sales. But over the last about month and a half, since DC has gone into phase 2, we have started, set up outdoor dining. We've given, because it's summertime, we've given the frosty margaritas that can go along with it, which has been a bit hip with our customers. And then even pivoting with our catering company, realizing that we can't do the large scale events that we once were. We have focused more on smaller, graduations, family events at the home, where people are really just tired of cooking every day or just getting that same carry out. We're able to do customized meals that can feed a family for a longer duration. We just recently started meeting with hotels. They can't open their full food operation and the days of the buffet are gone. So they're looking at individual boxed meals that they can give out to those that are traveling. So we have customized the menu to be able to serve those customers as well. And really looking for opportunities where, instead of that large scale event, we have smaller individually wrapped meals that we can pass out, sort of like a box lunch, if you will, or a hot meal for those that need something different, like the frontline workers. So we've been able to feed really a long line of varied customers. As Deidre mentioned, is, you have a product, you have something to sell. It's really about making sure you can get it to the people that are looking for that product.
Excellent. Thank you, Melvin. And I'm going to throw this same question to you, Akila. You're on mute. Okay.
I got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
So before COVID-19, so we've been in business for 5 years. We launched in 2015. And, the interesting thing about being a tour operator is usually I don't have any physical goods. You don't come and take a tour. I don't hand you a phone or something like that. Or like Melvin, I don't give you food. We do food tours. So where we go to restaurants, we work with restaurant partners. Like Deidre, I don't have a hotel. What we have, what we're really amazing at is our storytelling. And we really are amazing at our storytelling. My background is as a writer. All of my tour guides are in the entertainment industry. They're actresses or performers. And so we're just really, really good at telling stories. And we were extremely successful. I mean, we had grown rapidly in 5 years. We had become the third largest tour company in the city of Atlanta. And we are, funny enough, we're an all-female organization. I've tried to hire guys, but I don't know why. We just have a lot of female performers in Atlanta. And so we were selling largely, I mean, yes, we did social media, but a lot actually of our sales came through word of mouth. So, repeat customers, repeat business. We had a huge private tour market because all of the companies in the city who needed events, we're the largest food tour company in the city. We're the largest walking tour company in the city. We also were working with conventions who were coming into the city. Atlanta is one of the largest convention cities as well. And then on the public tour side, we worked a lot with online travel agencies, so OTAs, so like TripAdvisor, Expedia, all of that stuff.
Okay.
So then, of course, COVID-19 happened and we had to shut everything down immediately. And we were shut down for about 3 days. And like Deidre, I turned around and I was like, you know what? We're not going to do this. It might not have even been 3 days. It might have been 1 day. I think the first day I was super depressed because like Deidre, we had an amazing year. I mean, our January and February were double our revenue from last year in 2019. We had so many like huge, massive private tours booked. And so I was pretty depressed for about a day. And then I woke up the next morning and I thought to myself, we don't need to physically see people. We're a storytelling company. I don't have a hotel that you need to come to my hotel. All I had to do is tell you stories, and I can tell you stories via virtually. And so I like to tell people that we have not pivoted. We did not pivot. We are pivoting, and we are continue to be pivoting. Pivoting, what we have found has been more of an organic methodology where we are shifting and changing as the times change. We started off our first product that we brought out. We brought it out literally a week after. I mean, the city shut down on March 13th, March 20th. We had a brand new product that we started selling. And what was interesting about it was when we started selling it, I didn't have a physical product in my hand because what we have discovered along the way in pivoting, and I think Deirdre gave some really amazing advice of, think about what you have. But my advice is when you are pivoting, people will buy ideas. And this is a huge thing that we don't think about, because most of us are in this business where we think, well, I need something to be perfect. I need it to be beautiful. And then I'm going to get it out to the public and I'm going to sell it. But what we have discovered in the last 3.5 months is you really can use kind of that tech methodology, the Silicon Valley Facebook methodology, which is move fast and break things. Basically, we are just creating a minimum viable product, throwing it out there and seeing if people buy it. And if people buy it, then we know we've hit something, and then we start production. So our first product, we developed a virtual tour that was utilizing several of our existing customers. If you go to shop.unexpectedatlanta.com, you can see all of our products that we're currently selling. And it was priced really high. It was like, no, at the very first, it was priced like $80. We were doing local delivery. Within 2 weeks, we realized, you know what? We're not delivery people. We don't like doing this. I don't want to work with a delivery person. So then we continued pivoting and we said, okay, how do we convert this into a model where we can ship it? So phase 2 was shipping a virtual tour. So basically you would get a box that was filled with different food items from multiple different vendors. It included videos from our history guides. And so then that sold for $180. So we got feedback from everybody who purchased that. And people said, well, you know what? We love the idea. We love the concept, but the price is too high. And we don't necessarily want to watch a video. That's like watching Netflix. You can do that for free. We want something that's interactive and live. So now pivot 3 is what we're working on now.
Akilah, can you give us one moment? I want to hear from Margie and Susan.
Yes,
Then
absolutely.
we'll come back to
no,
pivot
go
3.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
please.
but I'm listening because we're a tour operator too. So I'm listening to, you know, your innovation, your innovative ways that you pivoted, which I think is great. And for other tour operators who are on the call, you're really thinking outside of the box. So we definitely want to come back and hear pivot 3. Okay.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
No, sorry. Didn't mean to take up extra time.
It's
Absolutely.
okay.
Please
It's
cut me
okay.
off.
I know you're passionate about your work. I can tell. Margie, why don't you talk to us about, you know, what your travel business is doing? Again, I know you wear multiple hats. So tell us what you're doing and how you're pivoting.
So I'm actually going to give you the perspective of the travel advisors I work with and kind of where we were as a company with CCRA as well, because there's a couple of different things I want to share in this respect. But before COVID-19, from CCRA perspective, we were actually in Washington, D.C. having our annual conference. There were about 500 travel professionals there, a host of other tour operators, cruise lines, airlines, hoteliers, all there with us, and having a big award ceremony. And we were in the middle of a really fantastic event when we started hearing about the shutdowns and a few things happening from China. And there was some concern initially there, but we were in the middle of a great big event that we weren't going to cancel. This was the middle of February. Yeah. By the time we got home and we started back into our work day, checking in with our member agencies and travel advisors. There were several who were already out there internationally with really large groups. There was one who was in Thailand with a large group, another who was in Dubai with a large group around the beginning of March. And as we heard more, things were starting to shut down. And from the travel advisor side, the concern shifted. Now you've got to get home if you're already out there. And now you've got travelers out there internationally who could potentially be stuck abroad that need to get back home. And things are shutting down. The tours can't happen like you wanted them to happen. Places that you're visiting, you can't go anymore. So it was pretty pivotal at that moment that making sure people could get home and get home safely was the first order of business. And it wasn't long after that when things really came to a halt. You know, the travel industry as a whole, for a travel advisor or an agency owner, there was a very abrupt stop. There was no warning, there was no anything. We're just shut down completely. So that perspective took on a new challenge because now all your clients are calling and trying to figure out, one, how can they get home if they're out there? Two, what's closed? Can I take my trip next week, next month, next, 6 months from now? Can I still go? And it kind of left us all scratching our heads trying to figure out what's going to happen. Now, this is March, and we're looking at now July, and we're still scratching our heads trying to figure out when we can get back out there. This has not pivoted as quickly for a travel advisor as we would have wanted it to. So long out hours, not moments, hours, 6, 8, 9 hours on a phone on hold for one customer, and having to jump through hoops to get money back. Went from everything to, in your terms and conditions, it said I could get money, and then when the tour operator or cruise line or supplier comes back and says, yeah, I know we said that before, but no, we can't give you money. To some of them just flat out shutting down and clients losing money, and you're having to deal with attorneys and a variety of things. So COVID-19 for a travel advisor, for a travel company, did a pretty, rough number on us, and left a lot of us in a situation we've never been in before.
Absolutely. I know a lot of travel advisors, and I've spoken to many myself, and you're absolutely right. And the sad thing about it is that we don't even know when we're going to get through this, But thank you for sharing that. Susan, let's hear from you. What were you doing
Sure.
prior to COVID, and what are you doing now to pivot your business?
Sure. Okay. So, as a lot of you mentioned, the last couple of years have been really, my company had been thriving, doing very well, to the point where I was actually, a little bit bored myself with just, doing events in South Florida. So I decided I wanted to start, having my clients travel internationally, and it started happening. I mean, I got I did an event in Venice, Italy. I mean, I feel like I'm the Venice queen, whether it's the city, the beach, the country side. And, that was one of the places. I then, was lucky enough to work with the Small Business Association, and they gave me several, different, help them with organizing meetings for small businesses in, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix, Alabama, as well as in Florida. And so that was doing very well. I was on my way and planning a private event, girls' weekend actually, in Costa Rica in May, as well as a wedding in Dubai. So, plus other, local events in South Florida that I had on the calendar for this year. So it was kind of, devastating. I mean, I was coming back in February from All-Star Weekend in Chicago. We did a couple of events there with a client of mine, a nonprofit, and, it was really exciting. So I was as well looking forward to this 2020. I thought this was going to be an amazing year. We had a lot of things slated on the books, not just for this year, next year as well. So, once again, having to really go back and think about, okay, I've been in business 18 years. 6 of those were really part-time, and full-time the rest. So I went back to what I knew. And I had to change a little bit about work with some of my clients and moving forward with virtual. So we were heavy when I lived in LA, because I also started my business in Los Angeles. I did quite a bit of decor and special event planning, which I still do. So I went back to that and really focusing on clients that needed help with still decor. And, luckily enough, I've been bidding on a few jobs for the holidays, so that I'm hoping to get some of those jobs. Some of those are from the county, Miami County, Broward, and more as far as decor. I also have been working with some of my nonprofits and taking their day conferences, virtual. And, it's really important because a lot of you guys have been on a lot of calls, and some of them are more organized than others. And I really have been showing my clients why it's important to have someone come in to help and assist with when you're having someone sitting in front of a computer for, 6 hours, whether it's a weekend conference or, week-long conference or a day. So we were really trying to stress and, and let them know about our expertise and why they need to hire an event producer, planner for those different meetings. And it's been very successful there. A couple of them that I've done already, and, people were really happy. In my space moving forward, though, it's going to be really interesting because I have been doing research as an expert in this industry for meeting planning and special events. And what's happening is these conferences are going to go on. Things are going to happen. We are just going to have to really look into how we do them, how safe. when you look at a mask, when you look at, hand sanitizer as people walk in, people could customize their logos and really brand themselves with some of these items with masks and different things like that. Also, internationally, they're already doing it for events. They are taking these kind of arches and creating like these disinfected type stations. So when people walk into the event, they are all having to take their temperature. There are rentals now for temperature stations so that they know that the people that are coming to their conferences are well, as well as having them walk through these misting type, disinfected type stations. So these are happening. Forget about the buffets, as I think you mentioned, Melvin. Those are going away for right now. So we're talking about plated meals, that personalized service, still people keeping a distance in larger venues. So if you have you're having 100 participants or, at an event, then that space needs to be at least for 250 so that you can then make sure that people are not, are spreading out. So I think that when we look at 2021, I think that's the space that we're coming to, as well as doing virtual type events. Because again, people are going to have events. We know that they're going to want to gather. We just have to make sure that it's safe, and we have to be the experts in, showing them how to, when it comes to the meeting planning and, getting out, with these groups that are, trying to fundraise and raise money for their organizations. But again, this year has mainly been a year of virtual events, as well as even silent auctions and fundraising done virtually. So that's what I'm seeing in my industry. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing in my world. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. My next question is, what should businesses be doing to stay in business or to resume business? Can you share one or two tips, what you're doing and what can people who are in your segment of the travel industry do to try to sustain their businesses? What should their priorities be doing? Even if travelers are not, people are not traveling, what should entrepreneurs be doing with this time right now?
So I'll go ahead and I don't know if we'll go in the same order, but so they say hindsight is 20/20. And one of the most important pieces of information that my mentor gave me years ago was to make sure I had enough capital, working capital saved in case of any catastrophic events. And never would I have thought that it would be an entire pandemic, but I'm so happy he gave me that advice, because that's how I'm staying afloat, is that I had money, in the bank. And so I encourage everyone, if you're thinking about starting a business or you're currently in business, make sure you have your financials in order, because honestly, I don't think any of us could be sitting here right now if that wasn't the case for us. So making sure you have money saved. And like I said, hindsight is 20/20. But for me, during this time off, I've been doing everything from updating our employee manual, our employee handbook. I've redone our website. I've done some social media conferences to learn how to better position our company on social media. I've been very active. And, I said I'm using this time, even though we're not as busy as I thought we would be, I'm setting us up so that when things get back to normal, we can skyrocket out of here. And so, like I said, that's taking care of the back of home. So making sure all of your policies and procedures are in place, making sure that, everything that you need to run your company successfully, in the day-to-day when things were normal, we didn't have time to sit and work on a project for 2 to 3 hours a day, or at least I didn't. But now my schedule is opened up. So all of those things that have been piling up on my desk for months, I've been tackling them one by one by one. And so I encourage folks to do that too. You might not be able to do business as usual, but you can start to set your business up so that when things get back to normal, you're one step ahead of your competitors.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone else like to respond?
Yeah, so this is Susan.
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay. I'm just going to be very quick. I know I have used this time to really just kind of breathe. And it is, you really have to think about circumstances. And it's interesting what you said, Deirdre. Oh, did you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. It's interesting what Deirdre said, because I have been doing that as well, Deirdre. I literally have been combing through, looking at my finances as well as, wealth management. And, I recommend everyone get a wealth coach, because I really think that you have to again, look and see what you have and what you know, and moving forward and getting all your ducks in a row. So I've been doing that and really, really just analyzing, you know, income and, you know, making sure, like we said, you have something set aside for the rainy day, and also investing, you know, making sure that you know how to grow your what you do have, and taking time out. And then I also, there's been an idea that I had a very long time ago that has to do with within my industry. And I am putting together a business plan right now. I'm probably about halfway through, but it's been a lot of work. So again, just taking time to really take yourself and business to the next level, and maybe not just have one business, but also have multiple streams of income coming in.
Very good. I think we lost Deidre, so hopefully she'll rejoin us.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Oh, are you? I don't see you.
Yeah. Oh, you can't see me? Oh,
No.
hold on.
Okay.
There,
Oh, there you go. There we go. Okay, wonderful.
I have
Margie?
two quick, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Akilah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Akilah.
I have two quick tips, which I think are really important and have been essential for us in pivoting. I think the number one most important thing is know what your company is. I think a lot of times we're so busy and just, you know, doing everything that we don't have the time to actually think about, who are you? What is it that you stand for? What is it that you do? It was extremely beneficial to us that we figured out that we're not a walking tour company. We're a storytelling company that happens to do walking tours. So it was easy for us to continue pivoting because we're still sticking to our mission, which is storytelling. And then the second thing is know your customer. I think right now, more than any other time in the 5 years I've been in business, our customers are so willing to talk to us. They're very understanding of the fact that things are just a mess. And so we've been calling them and saying, hey, what do you like? What's been great? What are we doing that's working for you? What can we change? And that has really helped us a lot in pivoting. And people are very, very willing to give their time right now, more so than I think I've ever seen before.
Wonderful. Thank you. Margie, I think you were trying to say something, then I'll come to you, Melvin.
Just a couple of things here for the travel advisors. One of the things we immediately did as a company was started sharing and pulling in industry experts who could speak to their marketing, to their email marketing. We did webinars with Sandra McLemore. We did them with Emily Matras. We did them with a few people to help them kind of reassess where they were, create new marketing funnels and get things going. We didn't really, as a company, we didn't really like shut down per se. We got busy and started looking at every aspect of our business and trying to figure out where we could create new opportunities, where we could create new things that our clients could enjoy. We're writing, we're talking, we're doing live videos, we're doing all sorts of things just to stay in touch with them. Because the biggest thing we found during COVID-19 is information. Information is critical, and trying to get the right information to our clients, trying to get the right information out to our agents was the number one priority, because everybody had questions about something. Is this open? Is it closed? Just before the webinar started, someone sent me a text message and said, can I fly from Houston into DC for a funeral? Am I safe to do that? There were those questions that are coming. So sharing that information and then working on the basis of your business, from marketing, email marketing, creating lead funnels, websites, all of that was critical. So the way we shifted as a company was pumping out information for a good 2 months solid of educational webinars that would help them get their businesses a little further up and level up a little bit more.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And Melvin.
I guess, you know, all the ladies made great points. From my perspective, you know, during this time we have slowed down, kind of taking care of some internal things, doing some, you know, renovation work on the interior of our spaces, understanding, or at least hoping and praying that one day this will be over, hopefully sooner than later. But at some point we do hope, and we look forward to getting back to normal business. So part of really for me, I think the big thing is to be strategic. I've done a lot of information sessions like this where, I'm really listening. I'm trying to, kind of find out what's going on and where things are going. I've been speaking more so. I mean, I'm in the hospitality business, but more than anything, most of the time I keep my head down and I'm trying to get work done. So I feel like more so in these last 3 or 4 months, I've been talking more, talking to my developer friends, talking to industry peers, talking to people to just understand how they are moving and what they anticipate, and just trying to make some strategic decisions for my organization so that we can survive and we can be ready. Because my ultimate goal is to be ready to serve both today as well as tomorrow, and whatever
Absolutely.
that tomorrow looks like.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So I've been participating on a lot of industry Zoom webinars as well. And one of the things that I'm hearing industry stakeholders talk about is, I guess, it's going to require collaboration, businesses being willing to collaborate and working together. And I know for a lot of small entrepreneurs who are solopreneurs, who tend to work, by themselves, I think this time is going to challenge us to move from a me mentality to a we mentality, and to, especially for travel advisors, to look and say, well, how can I partner or collaborate with other travel advisors to pivot my business, maybe even look at different business models. I'll be sharing some of the initiatives that Blacks in Travel and Tourism will be rolling out, opportunities to help small businesses sustain their operations, but also to help them pivot into new business models. So specifically for travel advisors, I've been meeting with a lot of different companies and other organizations that are creating platforms specifically, to help create new opportunities for travel advisors. So I look forward to sharing that information in the coming weeks. So I would love to hear from a few of you about the importance of forming strategic partnerships. If you have partnered with any other company or organization, and if so, how have you partnered with them? Anyone?
So I can give you an example. I thought was a wonderful story one of our travel advisors shared with me. She decided during this period to create food and wine tours. So she started reaching out to her DMCs around the world, and she has a specific market in specific countries that she's focusing this on. What she started by doing was creating a meetup group, food and wine meetup group that she planned to market this to. And she had that prior to COVID-19. So once COVID-19 hit, what she did was she went and started contacting all of her local DMCs in the countries that she wanted to target, and started looking at specific ways to create her own branded food and wine tours in those destinations. I believe that she's putting the final touches on that. So post COVID-19, she's got a whole new product offering that she curated on her own with the help of the local DMCs to get that product out to market. So she definitely took collaboration to a new level and reached out and created a whole new product line for herself.
Awesome. Yeah.
We've been working with a lot of tour operators, actually. So what we've been doing, so for every virtual tour that we do, we also ship you a box. So the whole thing costs $25, and the box includes food as well as like some information. But when you do the live tour with us, we actually feature another tour operator. So for example, our next tour is about Civil War and salt, and the treat box features seasoning salts from Savannah. And we're featuring a Savannah tour operator who is doing a little 3-minute video for us. And then in our box that we ship to our customers, they get a 15% off discount or a 10% off discount to the Savannah tour when they go to Savannah. So the idea is, if you're going to come to Atlanta, you're probably going to drive down to Savannah too. And you get kind of this feeling of working with both of us. And it's
That's excellent.
it's worked out really well.
That's excellent.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it
Great
is.
idea.
It really is.
It is.
Awesome.
And just to kind of add to what you just said,
Mhm.
what we've been doing for some of our virtual tours is we've been actually, well, the first one I should say I'm doing because we have not really started yet, but we're sending out boxes for some of our clients to their clients who are going to be on the virtual tour. And inside the box will be a themed, some of them want to do like branding T-shirts, maybe, like an agenda of what is going to be talked about on the call, as well as, some type of a themed type, if it is Atlanta, it would be, like some type of a peach or something like that. Just something that will kind of be like a party, so to speak, leading up to your event. So that's also something that, we're going to incorporate into what we're doing moving forward. We thought it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I love these innovative ideas. Anyone else want to share any partnerships that you formed since COVID?
Well, on the grassroots level, we're pretty local. We have gotten with the community radio station to do sort of a backyard barbecue, trying to really encourage the, outdoors, socially distancing things, but in smaller groups. But it gives us a chance to sort of market our wares to, someone that may not have heard of us before. And also we're working with other Black-owned businesses, Black-owned restaurants, I believe, in the area, establishing a bingo game where customers can kind of go to the different locations, just to show support for those Black-owned businesses, but also just bring in necessary business. So we're just getting that started along the U Street corridor in DC. So, we're trying different things. I mean, overall, it's really being open to, sort of trying different things that, hopefully will work. But if not, you at least get that learning experience. So you can try something different if need be.
That's great. Awesome. All of these ideas are just great, really great. And it does require you to really stretch and really think outside of the box. But hopefully, any entrepreneurs that are on the phone, that they're taking notes, because I think everything you all said are really great ideas to pivot and to partner. So my last question before we go into Q&A, and if you do have any questions for our panelists, please go ahead and post them. And we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can. So I know for a lot of small businesses, they do whatever they do it very well locally, but they sometimes don't take the opportunity to connect within the industry beyond their local communities, or to join any type of travel or tourism trade association so that they are informed about what's happening in the industry. And I know because I've received several emails over the past couple months from small entrepreneurs saying, now that we're in COVID-19, it's really showing me how little I know about the industry, because there is a disconnect. Because there are many conversations that we know that are happening on a national and global level about what the research, the data is saying about when people are going to travel, talking about safety measures and protocols that are being developed depending on which segment of the industry you are. But if you're not connected, you don't have access to that information. And so I like to, for you all to talk a little bit about what are some go-to business resources and online platforms that help you stay connected and make informed business decisions, just to keep you updated with what's happening now in the industry during COVID-19.
Well, for me, I am really utilizing group chat. So there's a group chat full of other folks who own hostels and small bed and breakfasts and boutique accommodations. And so we talk to each other quite often, and we share resources with each other. We share tips, and that has been super helpful for me because, as you mentioned, Stephanie, I am a solopreneur. I am the owner. I do it all by myself. And so it is really helpful when you have a group of people that are in your industry industry that you can reach out to and say, hey, what should I do about this? Or what do you
Mhm.
recommend about this? It is super, super helpful. So that is how I stay connected. And then by participating in events like this, even if I'm not speaking on a panel, making sure that at least once a week, that's my goal, that I'm logging on to some type of industry event. And I've been very successful with doing that over the past 4 to 5 weeks. And it's really helpful because it helps you not only network and, you know, stay on your toes and see what's going on in the industry, but I'm able to, like you mentioned, feel connected and not feel super separated, because we're
Mhm.
all in hospitality because we love people in service. And right now we're not getting that. And so we
Right.
have to get it the best way we can. And right now that is through, for me, conferences and mobile apps with multiple people.
Awesome. Thank you, Deirdre.
Sure.
Mhm. Anyone else like to address that?
I do. I think for travel advisors, wow, we have information coming from all sources, and we have to monitor it from all sources, because we're not only looking domestically, we're looking internationally, all the places we sell, all the destinations we sell. What are the airlines regulations and what are they doing? Can my client stay at this hotel? And if they can, what does that look like? What's open, what's not? The all-inclusives, the cruise lines, we have to monitor it all. So we're always looking for some authoritative source, whether it be we're looking at State Department guidelines for international travel to different countries, or whether we're looking at CDC and what they're talking about in terms of where COVID is and where it's worse and what's happening in other countries. We have to monitor it across the world because our clients are going across the world. So for us, it's become difficult because you're not just looking at it for here. First off, you need to know what's happening at the airport, and then
Right.
what's happening on the airline, and what's happening once you get in country, and what are those requirements. Is testing requirement or required when you land? And then what happens when you get on property wherever you're going? Can they take the tours? Can they go to the Vatican? Can they do any of the things that you had intended for them to do? So we're looking literally at everything. We're staying connected in our Facebook groups and on webinars and meetings like this. But we are literally monitoring everything across the world
Margie,
because our
okay.
clients go there.
Thank you. But what I'd like for you all, when you answer this question, can you just leave our attendees with 1 or 2 specific resources, names of the organizations, or the name of the company that you follow, or what is that source? What's the name of that source, so that our attendees know specifically? And I'll come back to you, Deirdre, so you can give some specific names of the sources that you tap into. Okay.
So the best one I'm going to say, if you're just trying to figure out what's going on in the world for us, is the State Department. And kind of monitoring that, and the CDC would be the top 2. In terms of our Facebook group, CCRA has a CCRA Travel Professional Networking group that you can be a part of, and get all sorts of information from the travel advisor side. And we stay pretty current there, and there's lots of conversations happening in there around COVID and what's happening. And agents are actually out there traveling. So if you want firsthand experience, it's there.
All right, terrific. Thank you. And Deirdre, if you want to give 1 or 2 specific sources.
So as she just mentioned, the CDC has been, totally beneficial and totally helpful, because we're checking every day to see how we need to keep our properties clean, what's the level of cleanliness that is expected, what are the step-by-step things we need to do and to make sure we're in compliance. So definitely the CDC. And then as far as Facebook groups, there's, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I'm in about 2 to 3 hospitality ones. And I could definitely share with you if you're going to send this out after the panel ends. Most of them are closed groups though, so you have to be invited. But I'm still welcome to, or still happy to share them with you when this is over. And as far as the group meets, I'm really a part of the U.S. Hostels organization. And so we have a group meet where we all kind of talk to each other. So those are the things that I utilize the most.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. And quickly,
Sure.
I'm going to ask the rest of our panelists if you can answer that question, so we can have a little time to go to some of our Q&A, okay? Akila?
Yeah, so I follow, so for tour operators, there's a lot of resources, but Arrival is an amazing resource, ARIVAL. It's a large conference. They've actually been putting out webinars like on a weekly basis. So I've been attending a lot of those. The other resource that I really like is I read Skift pretty regularly. I think that they're amazing. And then there's been several aggregators. So like Rezdy, REZDY, their newsletter has been basically aggregating information about the travel and tourism industry, specifically for tour operators. So those are some of the resources that I use, but Arrival is a large one that I go to.
I follow them as well. Another one, Focusrite, which is PHOCUS.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And Focusrite and Arrival are both the same it's both Douglas Quimbley is the CEO of both, or one of the organizers for both of them. So if you do Arrival, you'll also get the Focusrite information.
Yeah, but they're tremendous, excellent resources. Excellent
I also want to second Focusrite. I live and die by Focusrite. Super important.
Hopefully they're on the call and they hear the endorsements they're getting. Susan, how about you? What are some resources you can share?
Sure. You know what? A lot of publications are great, and you guys mentioned quite a few of them, but I like to be tapped into the Wall Street Journal and a lot of, from a business standpoint. And it's been really interesting because I've been watching a little bit of CNBC, which is of course a financial channel, but they've had, and again, I know we talked about, COVID-19, but we know that COVID went directly into Black Lives Matter. And we know that there has been a number of, organizations, and just in general, there's been a whole climate change when it comes to Black businesses, as well as what we're doing across the board. So we all need to take advantage of that right now. No one has really talked about it, but there are these industries and these corporations, there's a lot of money out there. There's also a lot of support. So whoever you want to tap into from a dollar standpoint, whether it's a client, a lot of the CEOs have been speaking on CNBC. It's been amazing to see some of the Black CEOs, but also just general market that has really wrapped their arms around this Black Lives Matter. So I do think when you're talking about corporations and corporate travel, if you haven't reached out, those are the folks that you need to go right to that corporate office and ask them for the business, because it's out there. So I do think that,
Susan, to your point, I'm going to tell folks to go and like our Facebook page, Blacks in Travel and Tourism, because we have been posting all of those opportunities that you're talking about. We look at different resources every morning, and then we find anyone that's giving away money to Blacks, whether you're in travel or not. We are sharing any type of funding opportunities on Blacks in Travel and Tourism. So I would suggest for everyone to go to Facebook and like our page, and you'll be able to connect with those resources. But thank you.
Yes, I just want one more thing I just want to tell you really quickly.
Sure.
There's a brand new organization that's just forming out of the Los Angeles area for meeting planning, and it is called the Black Table, thebblacktable.co. And they're brand new, so you should all register if you're interested in finding out what's going on for meeting planning. And this coalition, I know one of the founders of it, and they're probably, it's just now getting going, but because of the movement. And again, it's the blacktable.co.
Awesome.
And actually, Stephanie, I didn't mention grants, but another good one for grants is Hello Alice.
Yes.
So if you're a woman, Hello Alice is frequently putting out grants.
And so is I Fund Women. Yeah. They're connected with a lot of grant resources as well as 1863 Ventures.
Yeah, I'm actually a graduate of their cohort.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So Mr. Melvin, we saved the most handsome for last. How about that?
I'll take it. Just real quick, I mean, the two places I usually, besides just aggregate news that I pay attention to, just to kind of see what the direction of the world is, I do pay attention to Destination DC. It's a local organization, but it does, they deal with international travel. They keep you up to date on things that are going on, as well as the Restaurant Association. I use the local Washington, D.C. Chapter Restaurant Association. They've been very good throughout this whole process, talking about CDC guidelines, things that we need to pay attention to within the restaurant industry, as well as open you up to grant opportunities throughout. So they've been great throughout this whole process.
Awesome. Wow, this has been a wonderful conversation, just full of great information. And I hope all of our attendees, especially if you're a travelpreneur, that you've been able to gain some insight from your peers. And I want to thank you all for sharing so very much. Before we move into our Q&A, I also just want to add that we have 2 more webinars that are coming up for this month. Our next one is July 16th on a Thursday. And we're going to have a response, an industry response to Blacks in Travel and Tourism. So we have a representative from Brand USA, someone from the World Travel and Tourism Council, and other industry leaders that are going to be, one, talking about what their organizations do, because a lot of small businesses are just not tapped into or don't even understand the role of Brand USA or the U.S. Travel Association or the World Travel and Tourism Council, and what international opportunities are available for you to tap into. So that conversation is taking place on July 16th. You can actually register on our website at blacksintourism.org. Then July 23rd, we have a panel of Black hospitality and tourism educators from HBCUs who are going to be having a conversation about what's happening with HBCUs regarding funding, but also regarding preparing the next generation of leaders in the industry. So that conversation is taking place on July 23rd, and you can register for both at blacksinttravelandtourism.org. So let's take a look at some of these questions and see if we can answer some of them. Okay, let's see. All right, so here's one. I have been a licensed tour guide director for 38 years, specializing in student and senior travel. How would you suggest I market my company now that schools are closed and students are not traveling? And I believe, Akilah, that's going to go to you if you have a short answer for that.
I think right now, a lot of schools are actually looking for people to do different types of tour related events. It might be actually reaching out to some of your past clients and just talking to them and saying, hey, you guys can't do field trips. What can I do? You know, we have products, but I think a lot of tour guides, I mean, this is going back to my piece of advice. Talk to your customers, find out what they need, because your schools might tell you, hey, what we really need is we need somebody to stand outside of this museum and show the kids what the museum is. And if that's it, then you can do that.
Awesome, thank you. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to pose it anyway. This person says, as you pivot, do you think your product offering should be free, then move to having the customer pay? And again, I think I know the response, but can whoever wants to answer this, can you say, explain why, you say yes or no?
I say no, because once you give information out for free, then it's hard for people to turn around and pay for it. I do believe in positioning yourself as an industry expert and giving out tips and advice. But it's really hard to go from free to charging, because you have to make that make sense to your consumer. And that's going to be a really tough job to do, in my opinion.
Thank you. I have a question. Are any of you working with DMOs in your destinations? And if so, how? I see you shaking your head,
Yes,
Akilah.
we are. How? So some of our DMOs are actually, like Suzanne was talking about, they're switching to virtual events. Like our, so they need somebody to do stuff for virtual events and showcase the South, and that's what we do. So yes, we are.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And Deirdre, this is for you. In what city will the next Wanderstay hostel be located? And what challenges did you face in establishing a hostel?
Yeah. So Wonder Stay Hotels is so we have hostels and we'll have boutique hotels. So everyone won't be a hostel. I am not letting people know what the second location will be. I will announce that in probably about 6 months from now. But challenges, we can have a whole conversation about that. Starting off with getting funding. I am the only Black woman in the U.S. to own one, so there's no one who looks like me that I could turn to for advice. So just positioning myself as a leader in such a white male dominated industry. So I would probably say those were the two biggest hurdles, is getting the financing and then really positioning myself so that, people understood that I'm the owner. I'm not the manager. I'm not a, employee. I'm the owner. And you'll be surprised 2 years later, people are still questioning, are you the owner? So just really putting my foot down and, really setting myself to be a power player in such a white male dominated industry.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you for representing. Okay, here's a question for those that are sending boxes to their clients. How are they filling the requests? Are they using a mailing service or mailing themselves? How are they controlling inventory?
Good question.
Suzanne, you're on mute.
Okay. A lot of them are doing it in-house. We also provide that service. So, so we letting our clients know. We not only that, but we also are letting them know that we could also send out, we call it party in a box, different boxes that'll include different themed, gadgets and items inside. And we did a wine one that was real successful. But as far as for the conferences, usually they have been doing it, but we let them know that service is available through my company as well.
Awesome. Akilah, would you like to address that?
We do it in-house. So we've just been managing it in-house. And yeah, it's definitely a scaling challenge. So far, we've been able to make it work. We've really streamlined the process as much as we can.
Awesome.
And it is expensive. And when you were talking about, you were trying to get the price down from 180, I remember when we were struggling with just trying to get it, the best value for that price. But it's expensive, to mail stuff is expensive,
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I didn't realize until all of this happened is that it is less about the size of your box than the weight of your box. So we send a lot of really, really lightweight items.
Okay, awesome. So before we close out, I'm going to ask each of you if you would just give your final thoughts or advice to our audience. And also, if you could share your social handles, how folks can reach you. Melvin, let's start with you.
Let's see, as far as advice, just be adaptable. You have to be ready for change. You have to be ready for whatever may come. Once you're really in this entrepreneurial world, that's really the reality that you live in anyway. This is just testing the skills, this COVID-19, as well as just the other issues that are taking place across this country. It just tests that theory. So, but I would say stay at it. The reward is, getting that check. The reward is, for me, seeing people eat the food and enjoying it, and giving good ratings as well. So, the reward is there, but you do have to put in the work. And you can catch us on, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram under D-City Smokehouse, at Revive Events and Catering, and at Wicked Bloom Social Club, as well as the websites for under each of those names.
Thank you, Melvin, and thank you again for participating.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. And one last point, I would say participate in things like this, whether as a participant or actually just listening, because the fact is information is what is going to help you make the best decisions going forward.
Absolutely. Akilah, final words and how can people connect with you?
So I think my final words are the same things that I keep on hammering, which is know your business. Before you start pivoting, know what it is that you do and make sure that your pivot is associated with your original mission. If your company is a tour operator and all of a sudden you decide you're going to open up a grocery store, people are going to be very confused.
Yeah.
So know who you are and make sure that your pivot fits your mission, and talk to your customers. Those are my two biggest pieces of advice.
And your social handles?
My social handles are unexpected ATL and that's at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can reach us at info@unexpectedatlanta.com, or you can see our website, which is unexpectedatlanta.com.
Terrific. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. I learned a ton.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And Margie, your last words.
So I just want to say that from a travel perspective, it's been tough going, no question about it. But this too shall pass. I promise you it will. And it will all get better, and people will get back out there, and they will start traveling, and business will pick up as we're already seeing it doing. Stay the course. Stay the course. You've built great businesses. Don't worry about what's happening right now as much as you need to worry about what's coming for you, because there's lots of business coming. So stay the course, keep fighting the fight, and keep working on your business and growing and creating new opportunities for yourself. I think that this industry, it takes, some guts to kind of stick around through some of the things we've been through, but it will happen. It will come back, and we're already starting to see little glimmers of that. So
Awesome.
if you want to reach me, you can reach me. I am Margie Travels pretty much on every platform that you're on. So just look for Margie Travels, and be happy to have a personal conversation with you about your business.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And Susan, final words.
Yes, everyone. Hey, hang in there. It's like everybody said, the future is bright. We just have to all just hold on. We're still moving, still shaking. But I think that we just have to, just stay focused, driven. And just when you have, ideas, think about ways that you can improve your business yourself. This is the time to do it, because we're not going to get another, what I call snow day like this again.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that. And also just, spend time with self, because I think that we all are so busy, and this has been a way for us to slow down, But the way you can reach me, my company, my website is thepartyco.com, Instagram, partyco_Inc. And then my name is Suzanne Belcher Boyd, Facebook, and that'll take you to my company. So those are a couple ways to get a hold of me. And thank you again, Stephanie. This is
Thank
fun.
you for joining us. Appreciate it. And Deirdre, final thoughts.
Yeah, so I think travel and hospitality are two of the most resilient industries. And so I agree with every single thing everyone before me has said. Stay the course, pivot, but don't pivot too much so that you're changing your entire business. But yes, just understand that this is a very resilient industry. We've bounced back from some horrible things, and we'll definitely bounce back from this. So continue to plan for your business's future. Don't pause, don't halt, keep working. And then in the future, everything will be just fine. And for social media, you can find us on Instagram, Wander Stay Houston, Facebook and LinkedIn are Wander Stay Hotels. And yeah, we'll be happy to see you on our social media platforms.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. And my final thoughts are that I want to announce that we're going to be offering our first Build a Better Business Boot Camp to work with small travel businesses to help you enhance your operations. As you heard many of our panelists say, let's spend time working on building that business, but also, to explore other opportunities, business opportunities, or to pivot your business. So October 8th and 9th, we're having the first Build a Better Business Boot Camp, plus virtual trade show, plus pitch competition. And you can sign up on our website, blacksintourism.org. We will be giving out 20 partial scholarships to participate in the boot camp. And it's really going to help you, again, gain some insight on on your business, what you should be doing, and how you should be repositioning your business, for the future. What else do I need to say? If you have ideas and thoughts about topics or voices and faces that you would like us to bring to you as we continue to offer the Blacks in Travel and Tourism webinar series throughout the remainder of the year. Please go to our website and complete a form and tell us, what topic do you want to know more about? Who would you like to hear from? And then we will do our best to bring these voices to you, okay? So we're gonna say it's a wrap right now, but I wanna thank you all again for participating and sharing your knowledge. And I wanna thank everyone who registered and who stuck in there with us to hear from our great group of panelists. And we're looking forward to continuing the conversations, and we're looking forward to continuing to advance Blacks in Travel and Tourism. Please join a collaborative if you have not. Next Friday, we will be hosting our first BTT introductory Zoom meeting, and you would have to actually complete a survey in order to receive the Zoom details. So if you're interested in being a part of the collaborative and working with us to build a better industry for Blacks in Travel and Tourism, go to blacksintourism.org and sign up, and then you'll receive an email to complete the survey, and we'll share the details with you. So again, God bless everyone. Continue to be safe out there, and till the next time, we'll chat later, okay? Thank you all again to our wonderful panelists.
Thank you.
Oh, this will be, it is recorded, so it will be on our website. The last webinar with the multicultural tourism executives is now on our website as well. All right, thank you all again. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all.
Bye.